All right, Scream 2 time. And Scream 2 is unabashedly my favorite Scream movie out of all four. This one just, I love the fact that this movie is 2 hours long and it's really enthralling throughout. Again, like the first Scream, I love the fact that this movie as well is just a very well done story and a really well done whodunit. And it feels like a really great movie with terms of length, with terms of characters, with terms of kills. And I love that it's a horror movie that just is a slasher movie that is very interesting with the characters as well, like the first one. Um, so the basic plot of Scream 2, if you didn't already know, is Sydney is now in college at Windsor College, and I think it's in Ohio, and instead of California. So like she's in college, a new killer comes out and starts killing people. So they got to solve the mystery again of the whodunit with Sydney, Dewey, and Gale. And I just unabashedly love this one. Like I said, the first Scream I think is fantastically well done. It probably is the best one out of all of them in terms of filmmaking, but Scream 2, man, I think it's so rewatchable, infinitely rewatchable. The most rewatchable out of all four. Um I really love the fact that this one again has Sidney Prescott go through um the idea of being stuck in this whirlpool of killers coming back, like new killers, like she already killed off the people that were killing in the first movie, and then realizing that it was her boyfriend who had a vendetta against her because her mother slept with his father, and then that means his mother left, or Billy's mother left Billy, and Billy went on a rampage, killing rampage. That's great to where the second movie, where Sydney is now dealing with the fact that she has to fight and stand up to this thing happening again. Like, I love that scene where she's talking to Dewey at the beginning, where she's like, Dewey, what do I do? Do I just go hide under a rock? Like, I can't, like, I don't know what to do. Like, I really like that scene. And it's funny because in Scream 3, she does kind of hide under a rock because she lives in a secluded area in California. But I really like the character. I really like the scene with her and the professor, Gus, or yeah, I think he's Professor Gus, where he's telling her about the play they're doing. I forgot what the play is. Is it Julius Caesar? I can't remember, but it's talking about how her character has faced everything, faced all of this fear head on, and is a fighter and is going to get through it. And I really like that scene where he's telling Sydney like she says, I'm a fighter, and he says, I don't believe it. And she says, I'm a fighter. And he says, that's better. Like that moment of character really works for me. And everything that Sydney goes through in this, the fact that she has a new boyfriend, but this boyfriend is seemingly not crazy. Derek, who Jerry O'Connell plays, it's great. I like the fact that Dewey and Gale are back in this again, and Gale's trying to get the scoop again, being more horrible than the last one. Like she hasn't learned anything until the end of the movie, and Dewey is just slowly falling in love with Gale, but then telling her like, leave Cindy alone, stop being this horrible person. I really like that as well. We also got Randy back again, who does a good job, Jimmy Kennedy, but he does get killed off, and honestly, it didn't bother me. Like, I thought that did raise the stakes because the first Scream ended with like 4 people surviving, and I know that it kind of is repetition throughout the franchise, but I felt like they had to kill one of them off, and I felt like Randy was the best bet, even though I did like Randy as a character. I thought he was good. But I thought that was the most kind of obvious one to kill, I guess, out of the 4, out of Sydney, Dewey, Gale, and Randy, because they were the only ones that survived after the first one. So, yeah, I think they had to do that. And I did like it. I did like Randy, though, and I didn't mind him getting killed. Like, a lot of people were pissed off about it, but I was like, no, I didn't mind that. I did like Derek a lot, Jerry O'Connell's character, who is the Sydney's boyfriend, who is not crazy. You realize by the end of the movie he is not crazy. And he's just really caring for Sydney, but Sydney, of course, has that bias of, my last boyfriend was insane and tried to kill me, so it could be him. but he does a good job. I liked her roommate. I'm blanking on her name now, but she does a really fun job. Like, she's just a funny, sassy roommate. Um, I thought she was entertaining. I thought all the side characters as well were entertaining. Like Joel, who is Gail's cameraman in this one, and in the last movie, the cameraman got his throat slit. So in this one, whenever Joel figures that out, he said, "I'm not working for you." And she's like, "Why not?" And he says, "Your last cameraman got gutted." And then she's like, "Oh, that's not true. He got his throat slashed. That was made up." And then he says, "Well, throat slashed or gutted, he's not in the union no more." Like, that line is really funny. And I think that Joel character is funny. And he's the smartest character in the movie because he sees Randy get killed and he's like, "I'm out. Bye." And then he leaves until the end of the movie, and then he comes back after the killer is apprehended. So that was the smartest character in the movie for sure. And he was also a black character, and usually black characters at that time period got killed first. So I'm glad that that was not the case, even though we did get 2 black characters killed at the beginning of this movie. By the way, that opening is really great. The fact that it is Jada Pinkett Smith and Omar Epps, they are really, really funny. I really liked their dialogue in the first scene. I really thought that they were hilarious. I loved how Jada Pinkett, she's just saying to her boyfriend, like, "We're not gonna watch this movie," which is Stab, of course, the movie based on the first movie within the movie. But she says to her boyfriend Omar Epps, Steven, she says to him, like, "This is probably some dumb ass white movie about some dumb ass white girl getting cut the fuck up." Like, that dialogue is great, and Jada Pinkett is really hilarious. Like I said, and Omar Epps. Like, whenever they're watching Stab and it's Heather Graham playing Casey Becker in that, she gets in the shower, which is not what they do in the first Scream, but it's made up. And then she gets naked and you don't see it on screen, but then Omar Epps just goes, "Ooh," and then he's like, "I'm excited for that." And then Jada Pinkett says, "You better loosen up that wrist." Like, that kind of dialogue, I think, is just really, really hilarious. And I like that the opening is in a movie theater. Like, it's funny to see that, because I know we've gotten slashers that have done that. He Knows You're Alone did that. Popcorn, stuff like that. But this, I thought, was a great opening. It's not as scary as the first movie in terms of the opening, but it is so funny and so entertaining and so fun. It is such a fun opening. I really dig it. Like I said, because of the charisma of Jada Pinkett and Omar Epps, they're so good. And I really, really just dig that. It was so fun. But, like I said, the opening's great. I love that it's set in a college. I think that's a good slasher location. I know we've had movies like Final Exam, which have done that, Dorn the Dream Blood, blah, 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 stuff like that. And I know that Randy even mentions those movies in the movie. But I thought that was a cool location. Oh, and also after this, Urban Legend. And I know there's other college slashers, but, like, those ones come to mind. But I did like the location a lot. I thought that was really cool. I thought that it fit a cool style to it. I like that it made the movie feel a little different than the first one in terms of how it looked. So I really dug that. I dug the location. I dug just how this one was really action-packed. And I don't mean that as an insult, because there's some horror movies that are like action horror. And this is not like boom explosions horror. It's just these characters beating the shit out of each other throughout this movie. Or like the scene where Sydney and Hallie, who's the roommate, if I only remember her name, they're both in the van with the 2 security guards, or the 2 guards who, the killer gets on top of the car. The guys are driving the car onto the street, destroying it, and the pipes go through the guard's head. Like, and that's just a good action-packed scene. It just was really well done effectively, I thought, with that. And the end of the movie with the shootout between all of these characters is very good. And I really liked just so many moments in this. I liked the fact that with Sarah Michelle Gellar, like her scene as Cece in the house alone, I think is a really good, effective moment. And it's pretty funny as well. It's got some good humor in it. Whenever she knows the killer's in the house, but then she gets jumped by Donnie, who's like a roommate. and then her roommate Donnie answers the phone, and it's the killer again. But she says Omega Beta Zeta, and then he says, "Is Cece there?" And she says, "Yeah, hold on." Like, oh, it's your ill-conceived boyfriend. And then you see in the background the killer's like running in the background, like where they don't see him. Like, I thought that humor was great. I like whenever Cece answers the phone from Donnie and says, "Hello, Ted," and then the killer says, "You wish it was Ted. Don't forget to set the alarm." Like, that is so hilarious. I love that humor. I really thought that was a great moment in the movie. Like, just that's one of my favorite scenes, is the scene between Cece and just the killer. And also the opening is fantastic. And the whole ending, the whole climax, I think is great. I forgot to mention Cottonweary. In the first movie, Cottonweary was the character who Maureen Prescott, people had thought he had killed and raped Sydney's mother. And he did not. It was Billy and Stu. And in this one, all he wants is this story. He wants to be on TV and tell the truth with Sydney, to be free fully. But Sydney doesn't want it, and then he really does a good job, Liev Schreiber, of really looking like he could be the killer. And I think the original script was going to make him the killer. I'm glad they didn't, because I did like how he does get a redemption for himself, Cottonweary. I thought that was well done. But I really like the whole final act where you've got Gale and Dewey running around in the abandoned recording studios, and like, it's really, really good and really well done. The scene with Gale running around with the killer, like trying to get her, like, I think is really effective. I think the fact that Dewey gets stabbed again, but still survives, is hilarious. I love the ending of the fact that the killer revealed is Mickey. And I have not even mentioned Mickey yet, but Mickey is also one of the friends, who is the creepy looking friend who is kind of obviously the killer. He looks just like Billy in terms of a creepy, stubbly character. And whenever he's revealed to be the killer, it's like, yeah, duh. But that's fine, because he was so great performance by Timothy Olyphant. Who is the first killer. And this one, like the first one, has two killers. The second killer is Mrs. Loomis, who had been throughout the movie as Debbie Salt, a fake alias to talk to Gale Weathers. But I love the fact that this movie does a fantastic job with being a sequel, being the second movie, where the first movie was about Billy taking revenge on Sydney and her mother, and then Sydney killing Billy. And then in this one, it is about the revenge of Billy's mother, because Sydney killed Billy. Like, I think that that's so well done. And Laurie Metcalf is scary as can be. She's insane in this movie, and I love her performance. I love how freaked out she is at the end as this killer. She said, like, the lines she says are so over the top, but they're so great. Where she says, like, how could they possibly track down the second possible serial killer? Debbie Salt doesn't exist. Like, those kind of lines are great. And whenever she has that square off with Cotton and Sydney, where she got Sydney in a knife grip and Cotton's got the gun and he's going to shoot them both, where she's trying to convince Cotton, like, you don't need Sydney. Like, she's not going to do what you want. Cotton, you're the star. And then I love when she just screams, because she's getting pissed. That Cotton hasn't shot Sydney yet, and she just screams, "She sent you to prison for a year." Like, I love those lines. Like, it's just a great performance, a great, silly, fun performance. Like, I just really dig it. Like, I dig Laurie Metcalf as the villain. And again, it makes perfect sense that it is the mother of the first killer. That is great. And he didn't see her in the first movie, so that makes perfect sense. I really love that. And I love the fact that the end of the movie is about Cotton getting his redemption, and the fact that Sydney is almost free of this. Like, she's not fully free of this, but she has killed enough. She has stopped the other killers, and she has survived again. But of course, we'll get more Scream movies with her. But I really love the ending where she goes, like, the news press comes out and says, like, Sydney, what's your story? Tell the story. And she's like, Cotton's the one who's got the story. And then they all go to Cotton, and he gets famous. and he gets what he wants. And I really thought that was a great just moment of kid of characters. Like I really loved how these characters interacted. I love the fact that it was just a sweet ending, despite the fact that it's a slasher. Like that's really great. And I love how these Scream movies do that, where you really do root for these characters, and they are very fun. It's interesting with the fact that this movie has a movie within a movie. So they made the movie Stab based on the murders of the first movie, which is interesting. But then they go way farther in Scream 3, where like it's about the filmmaking, about the making of another Stab movie. But this one, at least, it's just the movie's being released. It's not like about the whole movie. Because that's one of my annoyances with Scream 3 is like it's the movie theaters or the movie stuff making the movie with actors from that movie is just kind of like confusing and weird. But this one played it way better, where it was like, yeah, there's a movie within a movie, but it's not like they make the movie that important. Like it's part of the plot, but like it's not like it's everywhere all the time. They do show recreated scenes, like the scene with Heather Graham playing Drew Barrymore, or Tori Spelling and Luke Wilson playing Sydney and Billy, like recreating those. Like that's cool. And I just thought this movie is just one of my favorites. It's one of my favorite slashers. It's so fun and so entertaining. And again, like the first one, is a Hollywood slasher. It is not a low budget slasher. It is not a slasher that is trying to be. It's weird because it's a Hollywood horror movie. So I feel like people are gonna think that that's an insult, and I don't. For me, I don't find it an insult, but I could see why people don't like these movies. But I think that this one is fun and fantastic, and I love Scream 2. So great. Yeah, so again, Scream 1 and 2, fantastic. But that's it for today. Next up is Scream 3. I'm excited to talk about that one because that one's really different how I feel than the first two. So yeah, Scream 3 is up next. Talk to you guys later. Take care.